Alright guys, here is a Holmes 12-inch oscillating desk fan model HDF-1209 from the mid-2000s. It's a recent find. Pretty much this was inside a trash bag alongside a heater. Very filthy. I freed it up of all the dust that it collected. I assume this was stored in a basement for a very long time. Where it was heavily used. It just recently got pulled out, and I guess the original owners didn't want it anymore. This one is quite an interesting model, I must say. First impressions is that it kind of looks a bit modern just from the modifications of the badge and the blade being used. If you know right, the earlier versions of this desk fan with the 3 blades, they had a slightly larger badge compared to this one. And also the badges, they were glossy in finish, and the logo itself is not in the center. They were located at the bottom left of the circle. So it's quite an interesting next generation look. And usually whenever I think of these specific fans, you will most likely think about the ones that have the smaller blade set at the front as well. I used to have one of those, and I pretty much ended it. But this one is quite interesting. This one's pretty much the same one, but without the Too Cool logo on it. It just has the Holmes logo at the center, which makes it look a lot more modern. I don't recall ever seeing this specific one either in black or white at all, apart from YouTube videos. But in person, this is probably the first time I've ever seen it. Now, it's a relatively good shape. Apart from the dust, there is absolutely no damage to it. The grill is still entirely in place. The motor cover, they're still in place. The knob is still here. Just needs a good cleaning, for sure. The feet are still there. There is, however, some denting right here. I guess this was sitting up against a very hot object and it started to warp, because it's supposed to be in a straight line like this side is. So I don't know, it's kind of strange. Now, I assume this one was made early as maybe 2005. Latest, I would say 2007 or 8. I think that will be the time that Holmes will start retiring these models, because at this point, they've been making them for nearly 20 years. As you might know, they started back in '87 with the full metal grills and the 3-way blade set. Then they transitioned to the back grill being made out of plastic back in, I would guess, '94. And then they introduced this blade set here on the Too Cool series back in 2004. And I'm guessing this one's the last of the 12-inch Holmes desk fans that would be originally made by the Holmes brand. Before the Jardin came in and made the generic fans that you see today. Now, the motor is quite interesting. This thing sounds like a Blizzard fan, even though it's a 12-inch. And you'll see what I mean. So, let's start with the high. Oh, I didn't plug this in. Hold up. Alright, so I got the fan plugged in. So, 9 oscillation, we'll start on high. And as you can hear, it sounds pretty much like the Blizzard fans. And it is blowing a decent amount of air. It's actually moving a whole load of air right now. This is really decent. Doesn't even need the extra blade at the front. Because from experience, because of that smaller blade, the actual 12-inch blade set has to be pushed all the way to the back, and therefore it's scraping against the back grill, which would cause it to break. But yeah, this is actually very powerful for a small fan like this one. It's no Alaska Galaxy with the amber plates, but I might guess this would be around the ranks of those fans. Not really sure. But in terms of noise level, it's definitely very far from those mentioned fans. There is barely any difference between speeds though. And I might assume that this one uses a motor meant for a 16-inch fan instead of the actual 12-inch motor. And it could also be because of the pitch of the blade. It's not really that much. Yeah. The low speed is still relatively fast for even a quiet low. Still moving good amount of air though, but it's not a quiet fan. See if the oscillations work. I did a test this on the oscillation. Oh, so far it seems to be working great. So I'm guessing this fan was not that as abused as I originally thought. This is actually well taken care of, if I'm honest. If it weren't for that denting at the right side of the base, this thing would have been fine. But yeah, pretty much this fan in overall the conditions really not that bad. And there are some paint splatters on the front grille, so I might assume this was last used as a maybe ventilation for a painting project inside of an apartment or something. Not exactly sure. But yeah, the gears are pretty much in good shape. The oscillation is not jerky. It's pretty smooth. I'm not sure if I might keep this or sell it later on. But that might be for later to decide. The oscillation, the speed of it, is actually quite similar to the Galaxies, if I'm honest. But it also has to do with how fast the shaft is spinning due to the weight of the blade, because it's the amount of air resistance is not really much. Well, anyways, it's time to turn it off. But I will make an update video later on once I get this thing cleaned. But not really a bad fan, so And also the bearings are still free, which is impressive. So there you have it. That's the Holmes 12-inch oscillating desk fan model HDF-1209 from the mid-2000s.